Hello friends, welcome to the lecture of functional analysis. In the last lecture, we have seen some consequences of Hahn-Banach theorem. In those consequences, we have just proved the existence of a functional on the whole space n with the help of a functional defined on the subspace of a linear space n. Proving the consequences is an easier part actually with the help of Hahn-Banach theorem. Now in today's lecture, we will go to a next point of understanding the natural embedding of n into n double star. Let me share the screen for this. Yeah, this is my screen. Now in this lecture, we are going to understand natural embedding of n into n double star. We will just recall what are these notations, right? What n means? N is a normed linear space. N is a normed linear space. Okay, then later if we define a function from n to k. Okay, what this k is? K is either real field or complex field. Then this f is a scalar valued function defined on the normed linear space, and if this function is linear and continuous or oblique, I will write, or oblique bounded, right? Therefore that is f is a scalar valued function which is linear and continuous. Then this kind of functions is called as functionals. This we have studied already. This is called as functionals. Okay, and these functionals were taken into a set denoted by the symbol b of n comma k, right? B of n comma k, because b of x comma y is the symbol we have used to for all the linear and bounded or linear and continuous function defined from x to y. Here also this functional is one function which is linear as well as continuous or bounded defined from n to k. Therefore the same notation will be followed, b of n comma k. Therefore this is set of all functionals. This is set of all functionals. Okay, and set of all functionals is denoted by a special symbol as n star, as n star. And this set itself is a normed linear space. This set itself is a normed linear space under the operator norm. You have to just recall these statements we have proved. Which statements we have proved? B of, I don't know what is the notation used, n comma n dash is normed linear space, is a normed linear space under the norm t is equals to supremum norm of t of x on the condition x is in n, norm x is less than or equals to 1. This we have proved is a normed linear space. Also we have proved that if n dash is complete, if n dash is complete, then b of n comma n dash is also complete. Is complete. Therefore, I'll write it as a Banach space. This we have proved in the previous lectures. Okay. Therefore, using the same aspect, here b of n comma k will be a normed linear space, no doubt under the norm with this definition. Therefore, the definition we will write here under the norm f is equal to supremum. Now, instead of norm t of x, here we will write mod of f of x. This is the simple change because we know this f of x is a member of this scalar field k, and on this scalar field the norm acting is the modulus. Therefore the same condition rest I will write as x belongs to x, norm x is less than or equals to 1. Under this norm, this set b of n comma k is a normed linear space. Similarly, as this n to n dash, provided n dash complete gives us the set is complete, here also the codomain under the consideration is k, and we know the set k, that is a field, either real field or complex field, is complete. That's why this n star is also complete. Okay, therefore it is complete as well as it is a normed linear space. Therefore one can say that n star is a Banach space. N star is the Banach space. Okay, and this is this space is called as conjugate space, adjoint space, or dual space as well. Okay, therefore one of the wordings we are going to use. Therefore this is called as a conjugate space of normed linear space. Therefore we will write n star is conjugate space of which normed linear space? Of n. Okay, now one can find out the conjugate space of n star. Okay, how to find out the conjugate space of n star? Whatever the steps we have done to find out n star, same we will repeat. We will start with n star, which is itself a normed linear space, Then we will define one function on n star. Say capital F I will use now. From n star to k, say n star to k. Then if this is a functional, that is the mapping is linear and continuous, then this capital F is a functional. And how will we denote the functional on n star? This is denoted with the set B of n star comma k, and we will denote it by conjugate space of n star, like this. Okay, and which is nothing but n double star, conjugate space of n star, which is denoted by n double star and is called as second conjugate space of capital N. Right, therefore here initially we start with n, which is the norm linear space. Then we will find out its conjugate space. Then we will find out one more conjugate space, right? Therefore this is first conjugate space, and this is second conjugate space, right? Now as in the case of n star, n double star is also Banach space. As in the case of n star, n double star is also a Banach space. Same theory, same logic works, which we have explained for the previous. Therefore, now we will try to understand how the elements in the field n and n star are going to be related with one another. Once we understand the nature of element, then we will go to the heading, natural embedding of n into n double star. Okay, before that, let me tell you one structure. Here, say this is n, a normed linear space. Let this be n star, a second conjugate space, and let this be a scalar field, k. Okay, now if I start with a vector x in n, we have denoted the functional. On n, that is in n star. Therefore, here shall I write f is a member of n star. F is a functional defined from n to k. Then it will be a member of n star. Therefore, here I have written this is a member n star, right? Therefore, for every x in n under this f, what is the image in k? Is of the type f of x. Now, try to understand by the second way. This is n star to k. Therefore, if I define any functional from n star to k, let me denote it by capital F. Then this functional is a member of n double star. Now, what is the f image of this capital F? Capital F image of this small f? That capital F image of small f is equated to some element of k. Therefore which is equated to some f of x. some vector f of x which depends on x, which depends on x. Therefore, whenever we are finding f image of f, that image is depending on a vector x. Therefore, instead of writing capital F, we will write capital F with suffix x, right? Capital F with suffix x. Therefore, every functional defined on n star, every functional defined on n star that is belonging to n double star is depending on the vector x in n, depending on the vector x in n. Getting me now why this is dependent? Because capital F of f is equal to f of x. That is, capital F image of small f is equal to f of x. Therefore, this f of x depends on x. Therefore, this image f of f is depending on x itself. That's why we, instead of writing simply capital F, we are writing capital F with suffix x. Okay. Now, is the idea clear? That the, instead of denoting by a symbol capital F, we are denoting this by F with a suffix x. Therefore, let us try to understand the structure now. What is the structure? The structure tells us that if I start with n, n star and n double star, say, okay, then what is the nature of elements? What is the nature of elements? Here it is x, a vector x in n. Here it is small f is the symbol we will use for functionals in n star, and here we will use capital F with suffix x. Suffix x is very important because that functional depends totally on a vector x we have started with, right? Where? Therefore, just recall what is F. F is an element of n star. N star is set of all bounded linear transformations n to k. Therefore, F is a mapping from n to k. The nature of element will be, for every x in n, the element here it will be f of x. Similarly, whenever we are writing fx belongs to n double star, which is nothing but set of all bounded linear transformations from n star to k. The mapping will be defined on n star to k. Okay, and the nature of element will be, f will be a functional in n star and the image will be fx of f. Fx of f. Okay, now we are ready to understand the relation between the elements of n to n double star. Which relation we want to observe? N to n double star. Therefore, for every x in n, what I am saying, for every x in n, there exists one functional fx in n double star. For every x in n, there exists a functional fx in n double star. Therefore, these two sets are related to one another. N to n double star are related to one another. For every x, there exists one functional. Therefore, if I write this as a mapping, say J, if I write this as a mapping J, then J image of x will be fx. J image of x will be fx. This, whatever this we have studied, is called as natural embedding. Is called as natural embedding. Okay, we'll try to understand the meaning of the words. Natural means this is truly or naturally with the help of nature of elements between the sets n star and k. Therefore, this is naturally, just depends on the nature of elements. What is embedding? Embedding is one instance of some mathematical structure contained within another instance. One instance of some mathematical structure is contained within another instance. Shall I write it here? Embedding is one mathematical instance, or rather one instance of some mathematical structure structure contained within another instance. Within another instance. This is what the meaning of embedding in terms of mathematics. Now here we are saying n is contained in n double star, like this. N is contained in n double star. But this contain is not by the set theory definition, because the nature of elements of both the sets is different. Okay, in in nonlinear space n, we have all the vectors. If we consider n to be an n-dimensional nonlinear space, then these are the vectors from an Rn space or Cn space. But what is the nature of element in n double star? This is functionals. The structure of elements in both the sets is different, but still we are saying that n is contained in n double star. That is, n is embedded into n double star, and this embedding is done with the help of nature of elements. That's why this is called as natural embedding of n into n double star. That is, n is contained in n double star in some sense. What the sense is? The sense is with the help of isometric isomorphism. The sense is in terms of isometric isomorphism. I just want to recall you one concept. No? Somewhere in group theory, we have seen this kind of concept. What kind of concepts we have seen? I don't remember exactly whether we have proved with respect to group or ring. Let me tell you with the help of group. Okay. Suppose H is a subgroup of G. G is isomorphic to G dash. H is subgroup of G. G is isomorphic to G dash. Then we can say that H is subgroup of G dash. H is subgroup of G dash. I think this we have proved in ring theory also, in algebra 2. Okay. Therefore, the same kind of concept here. Though it is not directly a subset, though n is not directly a subset of n double star, but in some sense we are saying that n is contained in n double star. That is in the sense of isometric isomorphism. Therefore, the name itself tells us the meaning that n is naturally embedded into n double star. Okay, n is naturally embedded into n double star. Therefore, whatever this mapping we have written J from n to n double star with the help of this x to f of x. Actually, this is an isometric isomorphism. This mapping is isometric isomorphism. We know what is isometric isomorphism. Actually, if I forget isometry, isomorphism is 1-1 homomorphism. Okay, 1-1 homomorphism. Homomorphism is the word we are using in group theory. The same for linear spaces or for the vector spaces, we are using linearity. Therefore, this is 1-1 and linear. The mapping J is 1-1 and linear. Also, the mapping J is isometry. That is, distance between any two elements in the vector space n is exactly same as distance between their corresponding images in n double star. That is, J is a distance preserving map. Therefore, this is isometric isomorphism. Okay. Now, here we are not proving an onto case. But if this J holds to be onto, then n is isometrically isomorphic to n double star. I'll just write all the steps. J from n to n double star is the mapping, right? Now this mapping we are going to prove isometry, linear, 1-1 as well. Isometry, linear and 1-1. Then one can say that this is isometric isomorphism. Isometric isomorphism. But if this J is onto, if this J is onto, what one can say? N is isometrically isomorphic. Isometrically isomorphic to n double star. Isomorphic is the concept, not new to us. We have seen already. The two groups are isomorphic, two rings are isomorphic, etc. Now, isometrically isomorphic means it is also a distance preserving map, and one can write down this is n isomorphic to n double star. Okay, and whenever this mapping is isometrically isomorphic, the normed linear space n is called reflexive. If what if n is isometrically isomorphic to n double star Okay, I hope you have understood the concept of isometrically isomorphic, because it doesn't mean that the two spaces are exactly having the same elements. Actually, the nature of elements in both the sets are totally different. In n we have vectors, in n double star we have functionals, but still those are isomorphic to one another. Okay, means elements are not exactly same, but it is structure preserving. Homomorphism means it is structure preserving, and isometry means the distance preserving. Means, see, whatever the properties we are writing now, 1 1 on 2. Now this 1 1 on 2, what it gives us, the elements, number of elements are equal. Number of elements are equal. This is the first property. First property for just in n and n double star. What homomorphism? That is linearity giving us linearity or homomorphism, I will write. What this property tells us an idea. This is structure preserving. This is structure preserving. Right. And what last? Last is isometry. Therefore, what isometry is? Distance preserving. Distance preserving. Therefore, elements in n and n double star are different, but the nature, characteristics, number of elements are same. Therefore, the spaces are called as isometrically isomorphic. If the mapping J is onto, we are discussing everything assuming J is onto. If it is not onto, it will J simply isometric isomorphism. We cannot say that this is isometrically isomorphic to n double star. If I just want to recall you what isomorphic means, in some of the lectures we have discussed already, right? Suppose we are having a set of numbers, say 1, 2, up to 10 with us. Okay, these are the alphabet, these are the numerals written in English. Now, what are the numerals written in Marathi? This is like this, no? Okay, but though the sets are, though the elements looking in the sets are different, pronunciation is different, writing style is different, but all the rest properties are same. Now, what are the rest properties? Count is 10. If I am writing 1 plus 2 is equal to 3 in first set, suppose I am writing like this, 1 plus 2 is equals to 3. What is the corresponding element of 1 in Marathi numerals? It is ek, added with. What is the corresponding element to 2 in Marathi? It is don, right? Therefore, ek plus don is 3, right? Therefore, these are corresponding elements. Therefore, all the rest properties possessed by these two sets are same, though the elements are not exactly same. This is what a sense of isomorphism. This is what the sets are called as isomorphic. I'm not saying these are the group or these are the rings or these are the linear spaces. This is an example I'm giving you just to understand what isomorphism means to us. Okay. Similarly, suppose I want to give you a daily life example. homomorphism and homomorphic and isomorphic. Na? Suppose we have one person with us. Okay, if we take his photo, then that photo is homomorphic to the person. Why? Because it is not one, na? Right? Therefore, this is homomorphic. But if I want to tell you isomorphic, what it wants for isomorphic? For isomorphic, for every person, you should have its clone. And that clone is isomorphic to the person, right? But for homomorphism, as we don't have one restriction, therefore the photo will be a homomorphic image of a person, but photo will not be a isomorphic image of the person, right? Like this, we just try to understand what is isomorphism and homomorphism, and in this concept we have seen the natural embedding. First, again, let me recall the word natural embedding. It means simply the set n is contained in n double star. The word natural gives us the meaning that with the help of the nature of elements of n, n star, k, n double star, we have established this relation. Therefore, whatever is the relation is truly naturally established with the help of nature of element. That's why it is called as natural embedding of n into n double star. Okay. Now, this is what for the today's lecture. In the next lecture, we will go for proving this mapping J defined from n to n double star is isometric isomorphism. Okay. After that, we have many things to prove: countability, separable elements, etc. Okay. I hope you have understood today's lecture. Thank you for watching.